go to someplace with a road so you can see grass, dirt, gravel. But yeah, so the idea is that if you see a name on the tile, you can interact with it. You can pull resources from it. So yeah, again, they made this so easy. This engine is amazing just because of the data that you can pull and manage. You can manage everything very easily. That's number one. Number two, the variables are very much like what was that? Like Python, I think, where you can just create a variable. You don't have to define it or declare it. Um, Based on what is stored in the variable, that's what defines it. So that's how this works. So you can create you create a variable, and whatever information is stored in it, that's the kind of variable it is. It's like a string variable or whatever. This one would be a string, but I think you can just change it, like based on what's in it. I mean that yeah, it's very simplified and streamlined, and I love that. So yeah, dirt, grass, gravel, dirt, grass, gravel. Yeah, so it's pretty awesome. I absolutely love this. This is fantastic. Um, yeah, so I'm just happy that this kind of just worked exactly how I thought it was going to. I mean, at this point, being experienced, that is how it would be anyway. But this is more. This is less tedious, So there's less like one. There's less there's no syntax stuff, which is great. Number two, there's just no order of operation, like no steps to really follow. So that's good. Again, example with like creating variables in like C# or I think JavaScript. You don't have to declare, or no, that might be. I think JavaScript you don't have to declare. Anyways, yeah. So yeah, you don't have to declare, which is great. You can just create it, and then it is declared based on what value it holds, what type of value it holds. So that's great. I don't know. This whole thing is just It's been so chill and streamlined. Like that's all I've ever wanted. Game development used to be so stressful and just frustrating definitely, but super stressful. But that just, huh? I mean, that's fine that happens. That's a little weird, but whatever. Anyways, yeah, it's just way more relaxing. Like this is essentially all the best stuff of RPG Maker, but way better with way more control and freedom and less destruction, which is great. RPG Maker has a lot of arbitrary rules when it comes to auto tiles and stuff like that. It took me a while to just kind of sit down and just look at what was happening, and then I kind of understood what was going on with those tiles. But just setting up those tiles by the rules is irritating and just so finicky. It's irritating, but I did enjoy RPG Maker because it was way more chill than Unity, like just straight up 3D freeform development. I like freeform. The frustration with 3D with Unity or Unreal is just managing your assets in a way that's like just constantly optimizing. Things can go wrong at any point. Like you try to develop a framework, which is very, it's easy to do if you know how to program and stuff like that. It is pretty straightforward in a way, but you just constantly need to optimize. There's so many things that can go wrong, so much to manage, so many things to consider. The key thing is like, not everyone has the same configuration, which is fine. Usually I build for the lowest common denominator, but it's a headache, And then on top of it, it's just, I don't know. It's just Unity is always in beta essentially these days. Like it never used to be that way, but now it is. So the newer versions of Unity are just to me they're getting better, but they're also getting worse. As far as speed of development goes, it's getting worse. But as far as organization and structure goes, it's getting way better. So for me, speed is definitely a thing. I like to streamline a lot of my workflow for speed, and just, of course, obviously, like just making sure that everything is very tight, so that there's no room for error. But yeah, I mean, Unity, I've been working with Unity since it first came out, since I was in high school. So, as I only got really good at, like, I actually started developing. I've been studying how to do it for a long time, just never really understanding how to start, or where I never knew where I should start. And then I just never could really grasp anything solidly. I'm not that bright. It takes me a lot of time to figure things out or just understand things. But yeah, I was 21, I think, and then that's when I kind of started to get my grasp on things. And then when I was 23, I didn't learn how to program. Like, I didn't. Yeah, okay, I'll put it that way. I didn't learn how to program. I didn't understand how to program until 2017, recently. It was just very difficult to kind of keep track of everything on the screen and all that stuff, blah, 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 blah. And just understanding the structure of how coding works and things like that. I don't know. I was primarily an artist. But yeah, then when I was 23, I got Playmaker. I've been wanting it for a while. Something happened in my life that kind of just things shifted in my life, and all of a sudden I had money that I could freely spend. Not a lot. Like I'll put it this way: I had $25 to grab Playmaker because it was on sale. It normally was, I think, 70, but I would never be able to afford that at that time. But it was $25, so I immediately grabbed it, and I grabbed a Google Play license. And then from there, I made my first kind of serious, like, game with mechanics in it. The first game I actually did when I was 21 was essentially a walking simulator. There was not much to it. I was using a trial, like not a trial version, but the free version of, what was that called? It was a Uscript. It's not Unreal Script, just to be clear about that. It's called Uscript. It was a Unity plugin. And I was using the free version of it to do the code, so I didn't really understand too much. But yeah, I made like a walking simulator essentially, a really abstract thing, to kind of get the juices flowing, so I can start working on more complex things. But once I got Playmaker when I was 23, which was 2013, yeah, everything just kind of started moving forward, things like that. I still felt like disadvantaged, but I was able to produce stuff. So yeah, after that I just got better and better and better, until the point where the only issue was I need to learn how to program. I understood how the tools worked. I understood the quirks and things like that, things that would make it crash, all sorts, everything essentially. I just didn't understand how to program hard code, so text editor code, just to be clear. So yeah, once I learned that, I had no excuses. That's the whole thing. I just didn't want any excuses. Like, I'm not an excuse kind of guy. So once I learned how to hard code, yeah, there was just nothing I couldn't do. But my obsession became just optimizing, because I'm a neat freak. That is me, my nature. That is how I am. Everything needs to be organized. Also practicality. If you have something that serves no purpose, if I have something that serves no purpose, I get rid of it. That goes for like everything, including my own personal existence. So it's yeah. The more once Unity became a mainstream tool set that was viable, the asset storage started kind of becoming more popular, and packaged content, packaged tool sets became way more popular in 2014 or something like that. No, well, it started gaining popularity, but it didn't really become popular until like 2016 or something. But once it started becoming more popular, the engine started shifting towards catering that and managing that. So again, structure-wise, it became way better, and it's still being like evolving in a very positive fashion structure-wise, but speed-wise, it's just getting worse and worse and worse, because like now in the latest version of Unity that I was using, there's like a load bar for everything you do. And a lot of people are saying, oh, it's essentially showing you the progress that's happening that normally you wouldn't see happening behind the scenes. Like normally it would like freeze up or something and then it would happen. That's not the case at all. Like I've been using it for a very long time, and it's just now I mean, you can turn that off, but there's still load bars that happen, which is lame. You can turn some of it off, but they're constantly re-importing and re-evaluating assets when you hit the play button, when you do like anything, and essentially it's become like Unreal Engine, because that's the huge reason why I just don't use Unreal Engine. That was the engine I was studying for years, and it's always had that problem. It got really bad in 4, but yeah, again, those engines are great. They're just not, I just at the state that they're in, I can't work with them. So on top of it too, like the way my lifestyle is and the way I am as a person, I've needed to learn how to kind of chill out. So finding a way to develop games in a more relaxed manner is important, or else I just break out in hives, and then I gotta go to the doctor and all this crap to get the steroid thing, which is stupid. Anyway, yeah, like RPG Maker was always my favorite engine, just because it was everything was there for you. The message, like delivering messages to the player, things like that through text, that was just you filling out a message box, and it displays. You can customize the message box and things like that, reposition. Everything was just there for you, without all of the finicky specifics. I don't have an issue with finicky specifics, but at this point in my life, I don't need that much control. I just want to be able to create the content and the mechanics and the systems and stuff like that without worrying about the back end and under the hood stuff, just things that players will never really ever deal with. It's all performance, but yeah, RPG Maker is like the best thing to kind of get into game development, or if you just don't know where to start to prototype a project. And I developed this game. The third version was an RPG Maker. So, it was fully developed. The problem is, I intended to port to mobile. Like, I was developing for PC and mobile in mind. So, I didn't realize a lot of the plugin stuff just isn't compatible with mobile. So, yeah, and the performance on mobile was terrible with the way I was developing that stuff in RPG Maker. So the way I was like using parallel processes and stuff like that, when I first started with RPG Maker and I started understanding all that stuff. It was bad on PC, it was just terrible. But at this point, when I was working on this project, I understood it well enough. I understood frame data, how to execute code continuously in between frame counts and stuff like that, in a way that it doesn't cause frame drops. So I was able to do that well. Playing it on PC was nice. I was just bringing it to mobile was a problem, because just the plugin I was using for 3D first-person perspective Just the way the engine it uses to render, it's just not optimized for mobile. So graphically, it was just a nightmare. And without that, I would have to change the entire game design and stuff like that. And then on top of that, a lot of HUD stuff and simple things just weren't compatible with mobile. So it was just like working with Unity again, where just some like camera effects just don't work on mobile and things like that. So that sucks. I've had this engine for years. Got it when it came out on Steam. I've been wanting it before that. I just never I never had the money to get it, and things like that. But it came out on Steam in 2015, I think, and I immediately grabbed it, and I messed with it the time I got it, but then I never touched it again. But now it's interesting because just everything it kind of touts. I've always come back to it. I never opened it, but I've always come back to it and reinstalled it, saying I should give this some time because it sounds like this is exactly what I'm going for. You can port to, you can deploy to any mobile platform and PC and stuff like that, which is great. Also HTML, which is great. And on top of it, you can technically develop any type of game with it, so that's good. And the coding is visual, all that stuff. And the asset stuff, I didn't really understand how the asset stuff worked. That was one reason why I didn't get into it. And I couldn't really wrap my head around it within the first minute of getting into it. So then on top of it, the code too seemed pretty limited, the way the code worked. And again, this is all within minutes of just hopping in. I was judging it so quickly and then hopping out and saying, yeah, maybe I'm not, maybe this isn't the thing. But yeah, at this point, I didn't really have a choice. I just felt like I've tried every engine. Again, any engine that comes out, I grab it if I can, and I try it to see how far I can get with it. I hopped back into GameMaker before getting into this. It was still, I don't know, it was rough for me to use, because that was the first, I think, game engine that I really used, that I developed a large project with, as simple as that project was. But yeah, so I hopped into with this being the last resort kind of thing. I gave it some time, and it's so simple. I wish I don't know. I wish I wasn't so quick to judge it. I can't believe it's taken me 6 years to actually get into this and realize that this engine is essentially made for me and my style of development, stuff like that. Just the way the assets work, it's so freeform. The tile stuff is so straightforward, but you can use auto tiling if you want. But if you're not using it, it's not there, it's not in the way. There's nothing missing from it. So it's good. The programming is fantastic. They give you a lot of pre-made events to work with, but you can develop your own, and it organizes itself very neatly. You have a lot of control over that. The variable stuff is a godsend. RPG Maker does not have local variables, which I just how do you develop a game engine and not have local variables? That's insane. Private variables, that doesn't make sense. So I had to use a plugin for that, and I couldn't even tell if it was working on mobile or not, because I couldn't display the variables on screen, because that function is not supported by mobile through RPG Maker. So yeah, this has support for local and global variables, switches, which is great. Booleans. They call them switches here, like RPG Maker. On top of that, you can create your own HUD in the engine. It's a separate section, and it's just so nice and neat, just as you can see. Boom, boom, boom. And then there's that. So I'm working on the HUD stuff right now. But yeah, so you can do that very easily. The level of control you have with the code is amazing. It's basic. That's the language, basic. But it's cool because they let you switch between the visual and the text editor, and they literally specify that there's no advantage to either one. They both are as powerful as the other. They're both the same thing. It's just one is visual, one is text-based. So I like that. That's great. And on top of it, you can test on mobile. Like you can just push your test your whatever the game to mobile wirelessly, and it takes like a second. And as far as I can see, I've been pushing everything. Everything that's in this works on PC, mobile, and HTML, which is great. That's again another pillar that makes me love this. I don't have to be concerned with what works and what doesn't work on mobile. Oh, if this looks this way on PC, I have to configure it so that it looks sort of similar on mobile. No, what you see is what you get. So if it looks this way on PC, it's gonna look exactly the same on mobile. You can push to test it. You can send it to your phone to test it, to get that feedback, immediate feedback. It's great. It's really good. And just all my experience, and since I made this game like 3 times, I already it's been a lot easier than I thought it would be this time. It hasn't even been a month. I think it's been like maybe 2 weeks and a few days since I first started developing this, and the assets and everything in this engine. So the speed at which I created the worlds and everything, even though I had to reimagine everything, the concept is the same. The worlds are the same essentially. So the speed I was able to put this together is fantastic. And there's just more that I need to dig into to make it visually just even better, things like that. I like the way it looks now. And this is kind of the look I was going for, which is good. So yeah, there was that. Immediately I fell in love with it. My first, I think, 30 minutes, maybe a little less than that, I hopped in, I created the RPG file project, and I was like, like my first test was, can I just make this point and click, like, can I make the character move via point and click? It was so, that was my first, that was essentially the thing that kind of helped me learn how this engine works. So I just hopped into the editor, I started messing around with the code. The code was like really straightforward and simple, just like 1 or 2 nodes, and I got it going within like 15. So I got it going within like 5 minutes, but I got it the way I wanted it to be in about, it took me maybe 30, a little more than 30 minutes to really figure out how to get it to work the way I needed it to work. So yeah, I mean, this engine is fantastic. I mean, just the level of customization and everything. It just the amount of control you have, and nothing breaks. Changing one thing is not going to break everything else. Like everything is so localized. So another thing that I like doing is creating NPC templates and stuff like that. So this has that built into the engine. This has they have literally thought of everything, and it makes sense because they've been around for a long time. I think they've been around since like 2005 or something like that, early 2000s. So this engine has been around for a while. So yeah, I mean, it's great for a person like me. I just, the entire time I've been in here, and I haven't lost interest or anything like that. I just felt like I can make the rest of my games using this engine, and I can do this for the rest of my life. I feel like, getting a little cringy there, but yeah, it's fantastic. And my concern is like, this is always my luck. Now that I found this engine, I hope nothing happens to break the way it's functioning for me now, or to just disappear from my life forever. Like I hope I'm able to use this engine for as long as I want to say for the rest of my life. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I'll just say that for the rest of my life that I'm developing games. I hope I still have access to this engine, and I hope it works the same, and I hope I can keep using it. Because this engine's fantastic. Like, just optimizing too there's so many ways you can optimize, and it's so simple. I love it. Again, I'm still learning. Like, I'm still learning the interface stuff. As you saw yesterday, like I was freaking out, but I figured it. Like again, this engine's very. It just take you give you know if you start getting stressed out, you take a step back, give it a break, and it'll kind of come to you. Or if not, you just take a step back, come back to it, play around. You'll get it. Like it's not gonna take like months to get one thing working. It'll take like maybe at worst it'll take a day, but mostly it'll take like a few hours to figure out how things are working. But once you understand the concepts of each system, like the interface system, the map system, all that stuff, once you understand those concepts, getting things to work the way you want isn't going to be a problem. Again, like that's with most game development. Like you just need to understand the concepts of these things, and then they should, in principle, you should be able to plan out what you want to do, and then when you try to do it, it's done. Unity hasn't been that way in a long time, so that's why I can't use it anymore. I'm not comfortable using it anymore. Sorry. But yeah, this is pretty much like if you can totally understand this and it won't change. Like that understanding will remain consistent in practice, and I hope that stays the same for years and years and years. I mean, it's probably been the same for years and years and years. Again, I've had this engine for 6 years and I've never used it. So it's sad that I don't know, but it seems to be the same. I don't think anything's changed as far as I can tell, but I didn't know that much about it. So anyway, in the first place. But yeah, no, this has been great. The key thing that really just made me fall in love with this engine within the first hour after doing the point and click movement, that was when I was like, yes, okay, I love this, was the light system. Just the lighting, and then I learned there was fog control and stuff like that, and I was like, this is everything I need. Just lights, the ability to control lights and fog. And boom, like I can make anything look how I enjoy making everything look. That was a stupid sentence, I'm sorry. But yeah, like this engine's fantastic. And the fact that you can create custom like collision shapes and things like that, it's really good. It's a really good freaking engine. I mean, it's clearly super underrated, being that I have no idea what games are made with this engine. I don't know if there were any big name games made with this engine. I'm definitely going to give them the credit when this game is done. I also want to post a letter at the beginning of the game, just thanking them, because this engine is just so amazing. This is the dream engine. Like this, right? Designing all this stuff was not stressful at all. It was so fun and just easy, and everything worked how you think it should. It's very. Again, I can't gush about it enough. It's a very good engine. And just literally, so this gravel and stuff thing, I literally just threw that together within 5 minutes before starting stream. Again, this is an idea I had last night before going to bed. And I was just like, before I start the stream, let me at least try to do that. And then, yeah, I did it. It was really quick, very straightforward, and I was like, yeah. And it also helped me understand how to make this little context menu that's what this is gonna be, this context menu. But it helped me understand how to make this pop up at any resolutions of the screen, because that was the issue when I was here. It would work, which is fine, but if I full screened or maximized, it wouldn't show up. So but I do have to figure out how to scale the text and this according to the resolution. I like everything else, I got that going, but I literally just got this figured out, these things, so I just have to take time to do that. But yeah, this is great. Just seeing this just makes me happy. It's just so happy. Again, and it's I do have to okay, I'll talk about that in a sec, but yeah, this just makes me extremely happy. See just the tile, it's reading the tile, dirt, grass, gravel, grass, like it's so good. And it's not really it's not dropping the performance or anything like that. This is constantly running this mouse script. It's running two pieces of code, which are just two nodes, the positioning of the text and the changing of the text based on the tile it's on. Yeah, this is just great. What was I saying? Yeah, I gotta change the scaling. Yeah, I just have to figure out the scaling, how to scale these assets with the thing. Oh yeah, this button here, this is just a test button, but the button controls the zoom level, because for me, all my games kind of stem from like a horror thing. They're not horror, but my background's in horror, and that is still very much like, the best thing about horror is atmosphere and immersion, and that's something that that's just what I like. Just immersion and atmosphere and stuff like that. And one of the key things about this is I feel like the camera zoom should be a lot closer than it would be in other RPGs, just to kind of give that immersion and atmosphere. It's a camera thing, it's a film thing, I guess. I don't know that whatever, but I do understand that players might not like that. So I'm gonna, anything that I feel like players aren't gonna like, I'm going to provide other options, customization to it. That's typically how I am with game design. I'd like to provide as much customization as possible that will not destroy the game. Destroy their what they're playing it on, to be more specific. They can probably not gonna do it, but I wouldn't mind giving that level of customization to the point where they crash the game constantly. But yeah, this is just this is a test of the function. And this isn't going to be a button press. It's going to be in a menu or something like that. But yeah, like players don't like how close the camera is. Like, they should be able to pull it out. So that's one. This was just a quick test. I was using the resolution scaling based on a division of the intended framing. So yeah, anyways, it is cool. I got to play around. This was a good example of me kind of dipping my toe into the interface stuff, and also it was the first time I actually used variables to calculate off of in this engine, because I didn't know how smooth that was going to be. It's as smooth as you assume it would be. It's fantastic. Like, it's not complicated. It's very straightforward and simple. Again, I'm not the brightest guy, so this stuff is amazing to me. And I mean, I know how that sounds, but understand that other developers that I've met, they're kind of snobby and douchebags and stuff like that. It's like, oh really, that surprised you? All that type of stuff. Like, oh, anybody can do that thing. It's like, so what? Please let me do it. Like, but yeah, this is great. This whole thing is great.